All right, hello there. I'm deciding to do a video about something that obviously isn't going to be featured much on this channel. Actually, not featured at all on this channel come 2020. And that's these social issues. And, I wasn't even planning on making another video about it. However, a Newsday has done a major, and one of my viewers brought this up, and I was already aware of this, that Newsday has done a story on the discrimination and segregation on Long Island, and I want to actually show you and read some of this article, this big story that was posted in Newsday. I urge you to visit the link down below for the full story. There's no paywall, so I urge you to view the link for the full story. This is about everything that I've been talking about on this channel, about discrimination and segregation when it comes to housing. It's pretty much confirmed by this article that Newsday put out. So without further ado, I'm going to show you this article, most of it anyway, showing you, I don't know if my colleague is going to do a story or not. I hope he does. Hopefully the Camper News Network will feature this as well. But seeing this just kind of confirms all the things I've been saying about the segregation here on Long Island. And it's going on. Minorities being steered into certain communities, while lily white communities, particularly some on the South Shore, are discriminating against people who aren't white. And one thing that this article also brought up is that the governor has tried to combat this. I will give him credit. Governor Cuomo has tried to combat this, but really hasn't put enough money into fighting it. So without further ado, let me show you this article confirming a lot of what I've said on this channel. So the story is called Long Island Divided, and I just could not resist sharing this with you because this is confirming a lot of what I've spoken about with discrimination on Long Island, and there's no paywall on this. So I urge you, my viewers, to read the full article on this. This is a concentration on the investigations of discrimination by real estate agents on Long Island. This 3-year probe study strongly indicates that house hunting in one of the most segregated suburbs poses substantial risks of discrimination, with black buyers chancing disadvantages almost half the time they enlist brokers. And additionally, this investigation reveals that Long Island's dominant residential brokering firms help solidify the racial separations. They frequently directed white customers toward areas with the highest white representations and minority buyers to more integrated neighborhoods. So this is what I talk about redlining and steering, all the things I've been speaking about here. And they have videos here too. I'm not going to play those videos. You can watch them on your own. But this is they're going to cite some examples here, all right? And I'm going to go over them. 2 undercover testers, for example, 1 black and 1 white, separately solicit an agent's assistance in buying homes. They present a similar financial profile and request identical terms for houses in the same areas. The agent's actions are then reviewed for evidence of discrimination. They conducted 86 matching tests in areas stretching from New York City line all the way to the Hamptons and from Long Island Sound to the South Shore. 39 of the tests paired black and white testers, 31 matched Hispanic and white testers, and 16 linked Asian and white testers. All right. This is what I mean when I say white finance professional. I'm not just referring to finance. I'm just referring to white finance professionals because they discriminate. And this article kind of actually confirms almost everything I've been saying on this channel. So we're going to go over some of these examples here. Obviously, this is most commonly in the 7 cases, agents refused to provide house listings on home tours to minority testers unless they met financial qualifications that weren't imposed on white counterparts. "I won't do it," said this lady right here. She said, "I won't take anyone unless you have a pre-qualification letter." She said that to a black tester, but not a white tester. So these are the kind of people that we're talking about. When I talk about the snobs, these are the kind of people I'm talking about. All right? She's definitely one of them. They're racists. They are racists. All right? And when I saw this article, I had to make a video on this. All right? In nearly a quarter of the tests, 24% agents directed whites and minorities into differing communities through house listings that had earmarks of steering. The unlawful sorting of home buyers based on race and ethnicity. An example, amid MS-13 gang members in Brentwood, 79% of Hispanic and black community, Lee Ann Visquery, at the time a Kelly Williams realty agent, told a black customer, "Every time I get a new listing in Brentwood or a new client, I get so excited because they're the nicest people." She emailed the paired white customer, "Please kindly do some research on gang-related events in that area for safety." So they're saying different things about the neighborhood, saying Brentwood is good if you happen to be black, but if you're white, stay out. All right? But these real estate agents, they're racists. All right? And you can see here this little map that they made here showing where white people were. These are where the preferential treatment is. So these red areas here are mostly minority areas. They're a lot in the middle of the island, while the South Shore is, it's really hard to tell on this map. You see a lot of blue there. All right, so let's move this down here. All right, so I went a little too far there. Okay, here's a good example. Merrick. All right. Agents gave more than 8 out of 10 house choices in Merrick to white potential purchasers and fewer than 2 out of 10 to minority testers. All right, so again, in Merrick, when I say lily white finance professionals, these areas are full of these lily white finance professionals, and they only want to be with their own kind. And it's not just that they only want to be with finance professionals, they want to be with their own race too. All right? So, fair housing standards generally bar agents from talking about the backgrounds of people who live in neighborhoods as a form of verbal, racial, or ethnic steering. There are laws, all right? County Agent Raj Savini, for example, warned a white tester about buying in Huntington, a mainstay of northern Suffolk County. But you don't want to go there. It's a mixed neighborhood. You know, so this is what's going on, all right? Where I'm not going to send you anything in Wyandanch unless you want to start your car to buy crack, unless you just want to walk up the street. So this is the kind of discrimination that's going on here, all right? The steering that's going on. So this is the map here that they did, the areas that they chose. The agents gave black customers their smallest share of listings in towns with the highest proportions of white residents, and their biggest shares were white, which were less prevalent. So they're steering people based on race. Okay, I'm going to look for some examples here of how this. There's plenty of examples in this article. I said I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to go over with you briefly. And Asians are being discriminated against too. You'd be surprised. Even Asians are being discriminated against. So, Alex Cheo, an actor who is Asian, learned that an agent had declined to provide him listings of houses for sale, a first step in a home search, but had given listings to his matched white tester. So a lot of people were surprised at how extensive this racism is. Okay, and a lot of these major brokers, Douglas Elliman, Century 21, are all involved in this. All involved in this. And this is just the beginning of the article, so this is almost like a book. It's going to take your whole evening to read this, but they call it steering, part 1. Follow the school bus, see the moms that are hanging out on the corners. Some of them are not as nice. Elmont, most of Hempstead, Roosevelt, Baldwin, Freeport, maybe not as nice in terms of statistics. In East Hampton, the Hispanic community came in and they really took over Springs. So these are the kind of things that the generalizations, even 5 years ago, I have learned so much about how bad it is with discrimination and racism. 5 years ago, I did not believe it was this bad. It is worse than it ever is. So here is another example. Elmont, a predominantly minority community, was suitable for a Hispanic house hunter, but not for a comparable white one. So they steer whites away from the minority areas. All right. because they want to redline the minority areas. They want to make them all minority, put all the poor people there, and all the rich white people are in another area. All right. So Freeport, an overwhelmingly minority village, could be a good place for a black home seeker, but was a risky place to invest in for a matching white tester. Predominantly white Levittown was fit for a white buyer, but more diverse East Meadow and Hicksville were appropriate for an African American. Hicksville. So you mentioned Hicksville. All right. Pointing out a need to study who lived in a community before buying. That agent, Rosemarie Mirando of Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage, advised the customer to observe nighttime patrons of convenience stores. Whether you are going to buy diapers, during the day, go at 10 o'clock at night and see if you like the area. There was one fellow who insisted on this house, and the wife was pregnant and had a little one, and I said to him, I can't see anything, but I encourage you, if you want to go there, go to 10 o'clock, go to that cell 11. And they didn't buy there, so I have to say that without saying it. So they find ways around steering. Here's another one of these snobby people, all right? These are the kind of people you see on the South Shore. These are very snobby, racist people. I'm not making this up. This article confirms everything that you need to know, all right? She even called, you remember what happened with Joe Saladino. We spoke about that. Remember what happened with that. So, they wouldn't allow a black person to look at the home in Massapequa, all right? So instead of steering, she uses the word location. She's saying that learned over time that this is particularly important. So they know how to hide this. Look who's on the school bus. Look who's buying at the diapers at the grocery store. All right? They were made to whites, but not toward African Americans. All right? So it's assumed by a lot of these real estate people that only whites deserve to live in safe areas. All right, so this is another thing that's going on. All right. So here we go. They're putting you in a place where they think you belong. They're telling you that you don't belong on this side of the town because of your race or whatever, and that's not right. All right, and it's not right. But this is what they're doing. But what about my choices of where I want to live? All right, so. Where agents once openly shut black buyers out of white communities, some now apply courteous professionalism while sorting buyers based on race or ethnicity. The issue of discrimination is very subtle, said Claudia Aranda, director of the field operations for the Urban Institute, a nonprofit group that oversaw more than 8,000 paired tests. All right? If that study found real estate agents engaged less frequently than in the past in the more explicit forms of discrimination, such as not showing available houses to minority buyers. However, the study showed that agents placed minority buyers in the more integrated neighborhoods at a higher rate than white buyers. So the point is this: once the community is not lily white anymore, it becomes an integrated community, and it becomes redlined. And that's what's happening in the middle of the island. All right, the perils of house hunting while black. And they had no idea it was this bad. All right, let me just move this. It's a very big file, so it's very hard for my computer to get through it. Trying to my best. All right. Gave them fewer house listings, put them under greater financial scrutiny. So 39 times black men and women engaged with real estate agents as paired undercover testers in Newsday's investigation. In 19 of those times, the testing suggested that they experienced disparate treatment compared with matched white testers. Additionally, one agent warned white and Asian testers to avoid predominantly black communities. Kelvin Toon, 54, a federal employee, met with 9 courteous professional agents. He had no idea that 7 of those meetings produced evidence of unequal service, with one agent in effect shuttering him out of considering houses in the Bedrock, Long Island community of Plainview. I wasn't welcomed to Plainview for her, said Toon on learning the results of that test. Johnny May Alston, 65, a retired real estate worker, had no idea that an agent had refused to provide her service on the same terms offered to a white client. I would have never known, Alston said on learning how her experiences as a tester. Newsday's investigation compared with her investigations with experiences of her white counterparts. Speaking of the real estate agents she met, they make you feel like you're treating you like everybody else. But that's because they don't want you to see the other side. But once you see the other side, you realize you aren't treated that well. All the testers, both minority and white, discovered for the first time how their experiences compared when Newsday brought them together for joint interviews. Testing found evidence that black testers experienced unequal treatment 49% of the time. All right, Newsday's black testers experienced disparate treatment at higher rates than Hispanics and Asians. Okay, and sometimes they impose conditions on black testers that they didn't on white. In 3 cases, agents spoke about steering to the white tester but not the black tester, or volunteered information about the ethnic community makeup of communities only to white testers. Altogether, agents provided white testers an average of 50% more listings than they gave to comparable black counterparts. All right, limiting choices can help buyers toward and away from communities. So basically, real estate and Wall Street are all behind this destruction of the middle of the island. All right, and a lot of the towns that are more, not lily white. All right. So here are some tests here. They also have some tests. So an agent suggests 5 Plainview homes to a white house hunter, but tells a black home buyer that houses with the same market value are out of his price range. An agent takes a white customer on house tours without requesting identification, but asks the black house hunter to show ID. An agent warns a white home buyer about gang violence in Brentwood, but directs the black house hunter toward the predominantly minority community. An agent warns a white customer to avoid investing in Freeport, but suggests the predominantly minority village would be a good choice to a black customer. So let's take a look at explore these test cases here. They do have some other things we can look at here. Hopefully my computer will cooperate because there is a ton of information. So here we go. This guy, Anthony Cogliano, who is white, met agent Donna Rogers in the Douglas Elliman real estate office in Plainview in May 2016. He was looking for a 3-bedroom house within 30 minutes of neighboring Bethpage. All right. Agent demands investigation from a black buyer. Agent, warns. This is just double standards here. It's double standards. Okay. The privileges of house hunting while white. All right, and a lot of white people don't realize just how bad discrimination really is. All right, so black buyers experience the evident detail denials most frequently. All right, this is speaking about Hispanics, I believe. This one, right? Yes, this is speaking about Hispanics being discriminated against. All right. So, serving as gatekeepers to homes, schools, and communities, some real estate agents made the key to the front door easier to reach for whites than minorities. Let's see what we got here. So, again, one condition involves securing pre-approval of a pre-qualification for a mortgage loan. Pre-approval certifies that a lender has found your buyer creditworthy up to a certain amount based on a credit check. And they use that, and they only oppose that on the non-whites. All right. So this is what goes on here. Let me see. All right. So here's an example. This guy was refused house tours without a pre-approval, but this guy was allowed to go on house tours even without a pre-approval because he's white. All right. Yeah, this is going on in 2019. All right. This is going on in 2019. They looked almost everywhere else. So avoided agents steer white people away from minority communities. All right. So real estate agents associated with Long Island's biggest brokerages had more than 200 opportunities to suggest houses to paired testers in overwhelmingly black and Hispanic communities during Newsday's fair housing investigation. The agents largely avoided the minority communities, recommending homes there only 15 times. But when they did offer listings in minorities communities, they were sent those listings more often to minority buyers than whites. Freeport, Almont, Hempstead, Brentwood, Central Islip, Uniondale, Roosevelt, and Wyandanch fell 211 times within the home search areas presented by testers to agents. For example, 30 minutes from Hempstead at a top price of $450, or 20 minutes from Brentwood at a $475,000 maximum. The 8 predominantly minority communities range from 73% minority Freeport to 97% minority Roosevelt. Although houses were on the market with prices that ranged from 400,000 to 500,000, the agents directed all but a small share of testers to communities with larger proportions of white residents. I think what you've described is steering based on the racial composition of a neighborhood. The fact that everybody is steered away doesn't make it acceptable, said Greg Squires, a professor of public policy at George Washington University. Well, they pretty much showing you how they did these tests. Freeport, Bordering, Hicksville, Roosevelt, they avoid these areas. Again, these are being red lines. These are being redlined, and the redlining is now expanding into Hicksville and other areas. All right. So there's a lot in this article. I can't cover every single thing. Just trying to give you an overview here. Hispanics face hurdles as population grows. All right. So Pedro Jimenez expected to find evidence of some discrimination as a Hispanic searching for a home on Long Island. He found more than he imagined as a member of Long Island's largest minority group. Jimenez asked eight real estate agents for help buying houses as a pair tester in Newsday's investigation of discrimination in real estate sales. 5 of the 8 tests produced evidence that agents had subjected Jimenez to unequal treatment when compared with his white counterparts. It is alarming. It is crazy, he said. It's 2018. I cannot stress this enough. This is 50 years after the civil rights marches. I remember all sorts of people saying, well, we're post-racial. We voted a black president. No, we're not. Obviously, we're not. Jimenez, 45, is a computer and internet professional who was born in the Dominican Republic. As a boy of 5, he followed his mother to immigrate legally to the United States. He grew up in the Corona section of Queens, attended New York City public schools, and helped his mom earn income by making belts in the family's apartment. So Latinos compose 18% of the island's population, according to 2017 census estimates, followed by blacks at 9% and Asians at nearly 7%. They are spread widely, with 90% of the population living in 120 of the island's 291 communities. Okay. Jimenez was one of the 5 Hispanic testers who went undercover in Newsday's investigation. They engaged in agents representing 12 of the island's largest brokering firms, located from Massapequa Park, Brentwood, and East Hampton on the South Shore to Great Neck and Northport. All right, and they're looking at a wide range of houses. All right. So 5 Hispanic testers met evidence of disparate treatment 39% of the time. And this is where it really gets interesting. And this confirms a lot of what I've been saying here. They provided this group of Hispanic testers 12% fewer listings than white buyers, with the gap larger in the overwhelmingly white communities of Rockville Centre, Oceanside, Roslyn, Levittown, Merrick, and Kings Park. There, the agents gave white testers 7 times more homes to consider than they provided to matching Hispanic testers. Focus Hispanic testers on houses in 18th century census tracts in the town of Huntington that took in the downtown area, then stretched north. So following are 3 histories showing evidence that Hispanic house hunters experienced disparate treatment along with the findings. So an agent complains to the white house hunter that fair housing laws bar him from warning buyers, offers the customer choices in predominantly white areas, and directs a Hispanic house hunter to mostly minority communities. Isn't this sickening? Isn't this sickening? An agent tells a white customer that he might be more comfortable in a certain demographic area, says she's barred from talking about demographics, but adds her colleague will educate the customer. So fewer hurdles for Asian buyers while searching for homes with prices ranging from $400,000 in the Bayshore and West Islip area to $7 million on the North Shore Gold Coast. Asian house hunters met evidence suggesting discrimination less often. All right, but there's still discrimination, even against Asians. They still got discriminated against 19% of the time, which is still too much. No one should get discriminated against. Okay, so agents' top choice for Hispanics. Huntington was recommended for them at a much higher rate than white buyers. All right, so Huntington right here. All right. So they're being steered into Huntington. So, clustered in northern Suffolk County, more than an hour's commute by train to Manhattan, Huntington and its adjoining communities have long epitomized Long Island's suburban lifestyle. There's a vibe downtown. There's stately homes on wide, leafy streets. There are former beach cottages close to Long Island Sound. And there has changed. The white population has dropped, and the Hispanic population has risen. A phenomenon reflected in house choices by real estate agents in Newsday's investigation. So the area has emerged as one of the most favored by agents for Hispanic house hunters. All right, and they're being steered there. There's just so much discrimination going on here, and you wonder. You add that in. Why is the Huntington line on the railroad has such crappy service? Because Huntington is being discriminated against because it's not lily white, and because it's not lily white now. They're trying to just put all the minorities in there. They don't want people with different color skin mixing in with everybody else. All right, this is what's going on. This is what's going on because the lily white areas, all right, almost. This is where it really gets interesting. And like I said, a lot of what I've been talking about on this channel for the past, I don't know how many years, is confirmed. Almost exclusively for whites. Several agents rarely recommended Merrick, Levittown, and Rockville Centre for minority house hunters. So there you go. Rockville Centre, Levittown, and Merrick. Yes, Levittown is now part of the enclave. All right? You have to be a white finance professional to get into Levittown now. All right? So, no, and I mean what? The finance professional is not enough. You've got to be a white finance professional. That's why I call them white finance professionals. No house hunter is specifically asked to live in 3 Long Island communities where white residents dominate the population, but 7 real estate agents specifically suggested them to almost exclusively to white potential buyers during Newsday's investigation. So this is what I mean. Enclave, Merrick, Levittown, Rockville Centre, and Nassau County emerged in the testing as places these agents overwhelmingly chose for the white customers, but not for their matching paired minority home seekers. The makeup of these communities range from 75% white to 88% white. The agents' choices matched the demographics of the towns. The 7 gave their white customers 13 times more listings in the community than they provided to matching minority buyers. 2 suggested homes there, only to white customers. Agents placed 94% of the listings for Merrick, Levittown, and Rockville Centre with white house hunters. All right? In contrast, 7 agents provided listings that favored white over minority house hunters in Merrick, Levittown, and Rockville Centre. Spurred by as few as 5 miles and as many as 12, Merrick, Rockville Centre, and Levittown sit at points of a triangle in the middle of Long Island's South Shore. All 3 have been solid places to invest in housing. Home values appreciated at least 3.4% per year since 1990, a rate faster than experienced in 2/3 of the Long Island's communities. So again, it's becoming more desirable compared to the rest of Long Island. All right. So Rockville Centre offers a close-in commute to New York City on the Long Island Railroad's Babylon branch, so they get the best service. All right. Merrick is a prosperous community that boasts highly rated schools, access to the South Shore Bayfront, and a drive of less than 10 minutes to Jones Beach. Its median household income is almost $140,000, roughly 1/3 higher than the Nassau County median. While Merrick is largely homogeneous, with a population that is 88% white, its western boundary, the Meadowbrook Parkway, sits like a barrier to 2 overwhelmingly minority communities, Roosevelt and Freeport. So the challenges facing enforcement: little money at all levels of government for extensive testing to root out discrimination. All right? We are going to punish it and we are going to prosecute it, said our governor. All right? Great. He said this back in 2016. So in February 2016, our governor, Andrew Cuomo, invoked Martin Luther King Jr. as he announced groundbreaking drive against discrimination in home sales and rentals. The governor told an enthusiastic audience at the Convent Avenue Baptist Church in Harlem that the state would sponsor paired testing across New York a technique that uses undercover investigations to crack down on real estate and landlords who fail to treat white and minority communities equally. Customers equally, and this is what Newsday did. They did pair testing. So we're going to investigate it. Cuomo vowed. We're going to find it. We're going to ferret it out. We're going to punish it, and we are going to prosecute it because it's illegal. Great words, and I totally agree with the governor. Great thing. There will be people who will be unhappy because it's going to be disruptive to a lot of the big players in the housing industry who like it the way they now have it. 3 years later, however, Cuomo's unprecedented drive as governor, now described by his administration as a pilot program, entailed the expenditure of $65,000 and conducted 88 pair tests of upstate and Westchester area landlords for discrimination in apartment rentals. So it did not involve Long Island, unfortunately. There was a $6,000 fine charged against a landlord for refusing to rent to disabled individuals using emotional. This is all the stuff I've been speaking about. All right, this is all the stuff. But he doesn't put his money where his mouth is. All right, he was New York Attorney General at the time and oversaw 200 tests of real estate industry practices. But it illustrates the wide gap between the limited use and the documented prevalence of hidden discrimination. And there's some good news in this, though. In the summary, Cuomo's actions to combat, he noted that he did sign legislation this year banning discrimination on a source of income, such as housing subsidies or child support. So technically, what this law means, and I had no idea about this until now, is that as someone who wants to discriminate against a program is breaking New York state law. There is a law in this state. So if I do indeed have to move, I have the law on my side to live in any community of my choosing. And I know it hurts snobs. I know it hurts. But that's the law. All right, so I'm glad the governor has done something about it. He's done some good. Like I said, he's done some good. All right? The problem is the funding. There's not enough funding being put toward this. All right? And there's not enough funding. There's not enough testing. The budgets are too small to support sustained pair testing. So the state needs to budget more money. Dividing lines, both visible and invisible. Segregation of blacks and whites built into the history. Sadly, it is. Here's an example right here on the screen. All right? 88% white in Merrick, 24% white in Freeport. Freeport doesn't have a regular supermarket, but Merrick does. Another classic example. All right? Same kind of thing. All right? Long Island has 291 communities. Most of its black residents live in just 11. Just 11. All right? You have barriers like the Meadowbrook Parkway. Some are an invisible product of historical forces. And then you have the school districts, which we're going to get to. I think down below they talk about the school districts. Schools as a selling point. We've artificially created these school districts. Try to move them, and you will have World War III. All right? So this is what we have, these school districts, which I've talked about previously on this channel, that we need to do away with these school districts. We need to merge them and have much larger school districts. You're going to have lower taxes, less administration. But it's not happening because the snobs want the segregation to continue. All right? They want it to continue. So in many of Newsday's 86 pair tests, they spoke about the district. And the school district, the reliance on school ratings is a top selling point. All right, part of the reason why Westbury, the community I used to live in, was such an undesirable area. Westbury is one of the worst school districts on the island. All right. So this is a great article. I can't go over every single thing. They speak about the training. There's a lot of stuff, and there's lots of videos, and I urge you to read the whole thing. I just covered this is like just a little highlight of this. Read the whole article. It's going to take hours and hours for you to read all the research here. But once again, it is available free of charge without a paywall, and I urge you to read this article in its entirety because it confirms a lot of what I've been talking about on this channel. So there you go. Again, this is just an overview. You can read the whole article. There's a lot of bad, but some good in this as well. we have discrimination on Long Island. This is what I've been talking about for many years, and you know, even though I'm not going to be talking about it anymore, I feel that I did help bring awareness, and I don't regret all these years of covering these issues here on this channel, and I hope maybe it made a difference. But I have to do what's right for my well-being and cut this back. And I'll have a face-to-face video with you. I'm not sure. I'm hoping maybe to do one soon, talking about what's going to be coming in 2020 and what to expect on this channel. But until then, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I'm hoping my colleagues will cover this as well. But it is proof that there is discrimination, there is racism on Long Island, and I'm not at all surprised at the communities behind it. Even Plainview, too, even though it's in the middle of the island, they discriminate there too. It's illegal, and I'm not going to stand for it. Neither should you. We all deserve to live together, and we got to cut this out. I think that if we got rid of all this discrimination and we got rid of all these school districts, Long Island would be a lot less segregated than it is now. If you're a law-abiding citizen, it shouldn't matter what color your skin is. It shouldn't matter your disability. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you deserve to live anywhere you need to live in order for you to feel, happy. And I'm not going to, compromise that belief. Again, I give thanks to Newsday, and also give thanks to the governor for at least trying at least a couple of years ago, to do something about it. He likes to run his mouth, but I wish he would actually put a lot more money behind stopping this discrimination. But anyway, with that does wrap up this final video talking about discrimination here on this channel. I did the final video about Long Island Railroad inequality yesterday, and this will be the final video on the discrimination on Long Island on this channel. And I'll have a face-to-face with you video for you really soon about what is going to come and the way things are going to be on this channel in 2020. Once, just so we'll give you, because we have about a month and a quarter before this year is over. So I figured, let me tell you now what to expect as we head into 2020 on this channel, and that will be coming up soon. So thank you for watching. Have a good night.